Myths are sometimes harmless, but when they become urban legends, they can create problems. There are myths floating around about the PMP exam that can shock you and may result in waste of your time and money. In this video, I'm going to debunk 7 popular myths about the PMP exam. Hello everyone, Daud here, planning to destroy 7 PMP exam myths. So let's begin. First myth. PMBOK guide is the syllabus for the PMP exam. No, that is not entirely true. PMBOK guide is one of the several resources used by the exam development team to create PMP questions. So it is not the only referred book. However, PMI officials have pointed out that terminology used in the PMBOK guide is followed by the exam questions. If we think about it, that makes sense since PMBOK guide and PMP exam both are PMI's products. So PMBOK is an essential resource for exam prep because it will familiarize you with the terms, but the exam has questions that use terms not mentioned in the PMBOK guide. One other thing is that PMP exam refrains from using an alternative term to the PMBOK term. For example, controlled procurements is a process name in the PMBOK. Another name for this used in other literature is administered procurements or administered contract. It is unlikely that the PMP exam will use the term administered procurements. Also, as of January 2021, half of the questions on the exam are from hybrid and agile methods, which means the agile guide and other resources are now heavily used to develop exam questions. So, learn the PMBOK but also learn from other books. Or better, take a PMP exam prep course that uses many resources. Second myth. Only PMI authorized training partners courses are acceptable for PMP application. This statement is entirely false. PMP requirement is that 35 hours of project management education should be in a formal setting. So a course taken at a university or college or any training provider is acceptable as long as it was taken formally. Auditing the project management course at the university will not qualify. Self-study of books will not qualify. Watching YouTube videos to learn project management or to prepare for the PMP exam will not satisfy the professional education requirement. Other than that, you can take any project management or PMP exam prep course as long as it is a formal course. My advice is take formal project management training that suits your budget, matches your schedule and style of learning. Third myth. You must memorize ITTO to pass the PMP exam. I get surprised when I see some PMP exam prep trainers promoting the memorization of ITTO. ITTO stands for Inputs, Tools and Techniques, Outputs. You absolutely do not need to memorize ITTO for 2 reasons. First, the exam has changed a lot, and since January this year, the ITTO questions have almost disappeared from the exam. So why waste time memorizing them? Second reason is that understanding how the processes flow will help you pass the exam, as that is what majority of questions test. So even if there are ITTO questions, if you know what happens and when it happens in the life cycle of a project, you will be able to answer the questions correctly. So please do not memorize ITTO. Instead, understand what happens in each process and how it happens. Fourth myth. You can prepare for the PMP exam in 14 days or less. Like, really? Unless you are a superhuman or this is your second attempt, or you have taken a course and reviewed the material and are well familiar with it, there is very little chance you can pass the exam with 7 to 14 days of preparation. So then, how much time is needed to prepare and pass the exam? Well, it depends on how quickly you learn new stuff, how prepared you are, and how much time you devote to prep daily and weekly. Generally speaking, as far as I have seen, most people take around 8 weeks of prep. Who knows, maybe you can do it in 7 days. Fifth myth. PMP is for IT professionals. Another myth. I've heard so many people say that PMP is for IT or software development professionals. It is not of much value in other professions. That is far from the truth. PMP does not test your IT knowledge, nor is it directed towards IT people. I have personally used the PMP knowledge in construction, oil and gas, finance, marketing, education, healthcare, supply chain, and non-profit social projects. It is not industry specific. Sixth myth, you need more than 60% marks to pass the PMP exam. Few years back, I had students preparing for the PMP exam who were so certain that one needs 60% correct answers to pass the PMP exam that I started to doubt for a moment. Maybe there is something published I don't know about that says 60% marks are needed. But they had just heard it from someone, a friend of a friend of a friend of mine kind of thing. Nope, PMI says it is a psychometric test. So it involves statistical examination of your responses and is not based on achieving certain number of correct answers. Now, having said that, it does not mean that you get 20% right and you can pass the test. So your target should be to get as many questions right as possible. When taking sample tests, your objective should be to get every question right. Review the ones you got wrong and understand why. Did you not understand the process flow? Unfamiliar term? Don't know what the question is asking? Or you knew it but just made a blunder when answering the question? Coming to the seventh myth, the last one. PMP results in guaranteed salary boost. Well, this one is partially true, but we must understand the circumstances. If your manager told you to get PMP certification and I'll give you a raise, then a salary raise is kind of guaranteed. Or if your organizational policy spells out that those with PMP get a special allowance, then yes, the raise is guaranteed. Otherwise, salary increase with PMP is almost never immediate. For most, it comes gradually over a long period of time. As you increase your knowledge and confidence, you will start to take on bigger and complex projects, which ultimately will result in being paid more over time. So these are the myths you must ignore and your PMP journey will become smoother, easier, less costly, and efficient. Have you heard any of these? What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Also, if you got a question, I am only a message away. Cheers.